Here's a 25-minute lesson on how to recreate this viral motion graphic project. It was taken from my free course on motion graphics hosted on Skillshare. If you want to check it out, first link in the description. We are now going to go ahead and recreate this video. And as you can see, I've dragged it into the timeline, and what happens is there is the text and the scroll, and I'm not going to go any further because we have analyzed this in the last lesson. So what we're going to do now is start recreating this. And we'll actually start from the actual motion graphics. We'll do the text later because it's the easiest part. Before doing that, as you can see here, I have the video that I've downloaded from the actual page, and as you can see, it's 720 by 28 pixels, which is a 9 by 16 aspect ratio. You can either use that or the one that we are using right now. Our settings right now, you can see them by right clicking here and going on composition settings. And as you can see, they are 1080 by 1920. What I'll do is I'll reduce the duration of the composition to 10 seconds so that, as you can see, we will land right here. So what we now need to do is go ahead and first get the assets. So we'll need a scroll, a feather, a question mark, and we'll also need a gift. These are the 4 assets that we need. So what I've done is I've just gone into Canva, created a new design, and we are now going to use this to get the 4 motion graphics that we need. And the first one is a scroll. So I'll go ahead and type scroll, and I'll also type outline because I want the scroll to be empty. So as you can see, we have a scroll right here. Let's look for something more similar to what we had before. We have this, which is similar. This is also pretty good. I will copy this actually and go on FreePic, which is a super good website, which is free. And I will click on icons and I should be able to find something good. As you can see, I think this one looks really good. So I'll download it, perfect. Then I'll look for the second graphic, which is a feather. So I'll actually look for feather outline, and this looks really good. So I'll bring this in and I will flip it horizontally so that it's going to be similar to the one in our video. I'll make it a bit bigger, and then I will go ahead and share, download, transparent background, and download. The next graphic that we need is going to be a question mark. So I'll go ahead and type question mark outline. And now that we have our question mark, I'll once again go on download, transparent, and only this page, and download. The last graphic that I need is a gift. So I'll go ahead and look for present outline. So what I want to look for now is a gift, but I do not want this middle line, which probably wasn't used by the creators as well, because I'll need to divide the part on the top from the part on the bottom. So I'll keep scrolling down until I can find something divided. So I'll actually end up choosing this one because I've just thought about a good way to mask it and make it look like it's separated, so it's going to be no problem. So I'll go ahead and download it once again, background free. So we have finally got our assets. A quick thing that I want to mention before we start is that whenever I'll use a shortcut, you will be able to see it right here below. If I'm clicking T or Control S or whatever I'm doing, you can see it down there. So just keep an eye on that. If I do something and I maybe don't say it, you can see it down there. I have clicked something, and as you can see, something has happened on the screen. Now, what I want to do is go ahead and import our assets into our project, and we can start editing them. As you can see, they are all of different colors. It does not matter. Now, before proceeding with the animation, we just need to do a quick modification to the present. So I'll go ahead and hide all of the other layers by removing this eye thing. And then I'll go on Effects and Preset and search for an effect called Tint, so that I can quickly color it all in white so that I can actually see the GIF. And what I want to do is I want to zoom in by holding Alt and using the scroll wheel, and then click the layer, click on the pen tool, and then create a mask just like so. Make sure to hold Shift so that the mask is straight, and then just go right here like so. And as you can see, we're going to split the present in half. Then I'll go ahead and duplicate the layer by clicking Ctrl D, and then I'll go on the mask and click on invert. So then now I have 2 different parts of the same gift, as you can see. This is going to allow us to animate that later on. So now I'll re-enable all of the layers, and what I want to do is now go ahead and start with the animation. So to start with the animation, we will need the saber effect, which we have previously downloaded right here. And we will need all of these layers to become masks. So to do that, there are 2 ways. The first one is just mask manually everything with a pen tool, and that's not what I suggest. It's going to be extremely slow and painful. Or the second way is just selecting all of the layers and then go on layer and click on auto trace and click OK. And this is going to create, as you can see, all of the layers as masks. As you can see here, there is a mask on the scroll, same here on the question mark, it's all masked out. Now what I want to do, now that I have everything auto traced, is go ahead and create a new solid layer, doesn't matter the color, and I'll just leave it here. And the reason is I will now go ahead and take each mask singularly. So for example this one, I'll click on M and then I'll just copy all of the masks with Ctrl C and then I'll paste them here with Ctrl V. And as you can see, we'll have a red scroll. And now I can remove this one. The reason I will transfer all of the masks to a new solid layer is because sometimes the glow gets messed up if I just do it on normal auto trace layer. So that's the reason I go ahead and do it like so. Now I'll do the same with the feather. I'll copy, create a new solid layer and then paste it there. I'll do the same with half of the present and then the other half of the present. And now as you can see, I have everything on a red solid layer. Now once again, the color doesn't matter, we'll change it later. So what I'll do now is, just to organize myself better, I'll rename everything by clicking on rename right here, and I'll do this for each solid layer. So now that I've created all of this stuff, I can simply remove the original assets because I will not need them. So what we need to do now is go ahead and start timing our animations. So right here, as you can see, is where the animation from the scroll starts. So I'll drag my scroll exactly here. Then I'll go forward and look for when the feather appears, which is here. So I'll get my feather and I'll drag it exactly here, and then I'll move forward until they both disappear, which is exactly here. As you can see, they disappear. So I'll go ahead and drag this just like so, and this just like so as well. I'll make sure to be precise, which means that here is where the question mark starts. So I'll drag it below and I'll drag it exactly here, and then I'll go forward until here, which is where the question mark stops and the gift starts. So I'll go ahead and select both and drag them until here. And then I'll make sure to see when does the opening start. It starts right here. So we'll make sure to mark where it starts by cutting this layer. And then as you can see, this is going to happen and the text layer is going to appear from here. So I'll go ahead and create a text layer and type in present. And I will just time it from here to exactly here, which is when it's going to stop moving. So I'll cut it by clicking Ctrl-Shift-D. And now I have everything timed up. I'll do this text later, by the way. So let's go ahead and start with the animation. So the first one is the scroll. So let's go ahead and bring the scroll. The first thing that we want to do is check how is this animated. So this is just a simple saber animation. So I'll go ahead and drag it. So I'll go on Effect, Saber, and drag it on top of my scroll layer. I'll activate it actually. And here I need to modify a couple of settings. First, the glow color must be white. Secondly, I need to go on render settings, click on composite settings and click on transparent, so that there is not a black box under the saber. And then what I need to do is go on customize core, and here instead of saber, I'll click layer masks. And now we have our scroll. Now it's too bright, there is too much glow, so I'll just go ahead and reduce this to something like 10. As you can see, it's starting to take shape now. I'll reduce the spread to something like 0.2, and then I'll reduce the core size a bit. Something like this should be good. And now what I need to do is, as you can see, our reference is smaller and flipped. So I'll go right here on the scale parameter in the transform settings, and then I will click this button, and then I will put a minus here. This is going to flip the image horizontally, as you can see. What I've just done is I have unlinked the scale properties, and then I flipped them by changing the first value with a negative. I'll then link them again, and then I'll just make them smaller, just like in the reference. And now let's go ahead and animate it just like in the reference. So let's go ahead and play with our saber effect once again. Let's go right here and let's look for the end offset value. We're going to put this down to 0, hit a keyframe, and then go forward until the actual animation ends, so that we can time them properly. It looks like it's ending exactly here. So I'll go ahead and put the ends offset once again to 100. And as you can see what we have, if I solo our scroll layer, this is what we have. As you can see, the scroll is slowly creating. Now we will fix the keyframes later and we'll ease them later. For now, let's just do the basic animation. Now it's time for the feather. So let's look right here at the feather. As you can see, it's super big, super red. We need to change a bunch of stuff. First, let's go on the scale properties once again. And let's reduce this until it's somewhat the size of the feather in the video. And let's move its position. Let's make it smaller, taller, I think a bit smaller. Okay, something like this should be good. Maybe a bit more. I think we're good now. I'll actually make it a bit bigger. 23, 25 maybe. Okay, I like this. I'll bring it a bit down. Nice. Now what we want to do is create a movement keyframe. So it's going to start from here, position, keyframe, and then I'll go forward when it stops, which is exactly here, and I'll move it just like so. So that, as you can see, if we now solo our feather and scroll, our feather is moving just like so. Now what I also want to do is create keyframes on opacity, because if you look at our reference video right here, the feather is slowly fading in from the start until here. So what I'll do is I'll hit a keyframe on opacity here and a keyframe on opacity here on 0. So then now let's look at our animation once again. We have the feather appearing and moving, just like in the video from the reference. Now we only need to make this white, because in the reference video there was no glow, as you can see. So what I'll do is I'll simply not even use the saber effect this time, but just use a simple tint effect and just make it white. And now I'll once again solo these layers. And as you can see, this is what we have. The scroll creating and the feather moving there. Perfect. Now it's time for the question mark. So as you can see, it animates just like so. So I'll go ahead and enable it. I'll solo this layer. And then I'll go ahead and go on the scroll, copy the saber effect by using Ctrl+C and paste it here. So that, as you can see, we have all of our animation already done with the glow and all of that. Now what we need to change is, as you can see, there are 2 lines in our question mark. Meanwhile, in the reference video, there is only 1. It's not doubled. And if we want to recreate that, what we need to do is go on the mask section. And as you can see, there are 4 masks. So what we can do is remove the first mask and remove the third mask. And as you can see, it's going to be just like so, with only the internal masks created, and we do not have the external ones, as we did before. So I'll keep it like this, and now we have our animation, which is perfect. We need to create another animation though, because as you can see, this question mark starts big and becomes small. So it starts from here, and then it has a keyframe on the scale property right here when it stops. So I'll put another keyframe right here, and I will also modify the saber keyframe. So I'll search for it, there we go, and I'll make sure that it ends here with the scale. Perfect. So now I'll disable this and enable hours, and I'll go on the scale property, which is exactly here, and I will make sure that at the end it's way smaller. So let's go with something like 60, and now as you can see, we have our animation once again. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and look at the next animation. This one is with the gift. So for the gift, I will need to apply the same movement to the top and the bottom of our gift. As you can see, they move at the same exact speed. And I can do this in multiple ways. I can create a transform effect. The transform effect basically will encapsulate all of your movement, and then you can copy and paste the effect. Or the best way is you create a new null object. I'll put it right here. And I will now enable all of my layers, the ones I need, and I will link them with this pick whip icon to the null. So now if I do anything to the null, as you can see, the whole gift is going to move together. It's a super simple thing which allows you to control the movement of multiple objects at the same time without having to copy paste the effects every single time you make a change. So I highly suggest you to do this. I will call the null gift animator so that I know that it's animating the gift, and I will reduce it until it's of a similar size as the one I saw in my reference. Perfect. And now what I'll do is I will go at the end of the animation, which is here, hit a keyframe on P for position and put it exactly where it is right here. I will actually scale it down a bit more, and I will P for position, move it a bit down. Perfect. And then I will go at the start right here and check where it is. So it's exactly here at the moment. So I'll put it here. Perfect. Now as you can see, we will have our movement just as in the reference video. Now what we want to do is recreate that saber effect once again. So I'll go right here on the question mark. I will copy the saber effect and paste it exactly here and also here. As you can see now, our animation is going to happen at the same time as the reference video. Now what I want to do is make sure that our keyframe here ends at the same time as our position keyframe right here. So to do that, I'll click on U, which is going to show all of the keyframes on this layer. And as you can see here, I have my saber keyframe and I'll drag it exactly here. I'll do the same on the bottom present and I will drag the keyframe exactly here. So they should end exactly here and they're a bit offset actually, so I'll move them once again. And now they're ending at the exact same time as the position keyframe, which is perfect. So as you can see, I'll now have this happen. Now there is a small problem here because this layer does not have the saber effect. So what I'll do is I'll just remove this and expand this, and now everything should be good. The animation is happening, which is perfect. What I want to happen now is I want the top present to open. As you see right here, if I enable our reference layer, from exactly here the top present is going to open. So to recreate that animation, I'll go exactly where the animation starts and I'll click some keyframes on rotation, position and opacity. These are all of the keyframes that I'll need. So from here, as you can see, the animation ends exactly here. So I'll hit once again keyframes, and I will also enable my top present layer so that I can copy the movement. So as you can see, I have this animation to replicate. Let's first replicate the fade because it's the easiest part to replicate. So from here, as you can see, it starts fading. So I'll hit a keyframe on opacity and then I'll go at this one at the end and make it on 0. So that now if I re-enable my layer, as you can see, they're going to disappear at the same time. I'll replay this once again. They're disappearing. They're lacking the movement, but they're disappearing. Now to recreate that movement, we don't actually need position keyframes, but we need to set up our anchor point. So I'll quickly explain how does an anchor point work. As you can see right here, my anchor point is set right here. This is my anchor point. And if I now go ahead and rotate my gift, it's going to rotate around this anchor point. That's going to stand still every time I rotate. And what we want to do to replicate that movement is actually move the anchor point on the bottom right here. This is going to allow us to, as you can see, rotate and recreate the animation effect which was used by the reference video. So what I'll do now is I'll enable my bottom. As you can see, now the problem with changing the anchor point is that it's going to slightly change the position as well. So what we need to do is go ahead and change the position and realign everything. So I'll zoom in to make sure that everything is aligned. You can use Ctrl to move the handle slightly and have more control. Now it's perfectly aligned once again. And if I check the animation from the start, everything should be good once again. And now I can finally do the rotation. So I'll do it just like so. It will end up at something like this. And then I'll simply move the keyframe where it actually should be, which is at the end. Now I'll toggle the original layer and let's compare the two animations. So as you can see, we have our gift moving and then it opens as in the reference. So if I now go ahead and show what we have until now, this is what we're going to see. There is the scroll, the feather, and then there's the question mark, same as reference, and the gift, and then the gift opens, as you can see. So what we need to do now is go ahead and create the present, and the present is going to look just like so. I'll have to, as you can see, make it appear slowly. So I'll go ahead and go on the transform properties, click a keyframe on opacity, put it down to 0, and then move forward until around here, which is to 100. And then I will also have to move the position from here to here. Now I'll toggle my layer and make sure that I'm doing something good. So I'll disable my original one and just look at mine now. I want to make sure that my present is somewhere around here in position at the start. So I'll drag it here, and then it's somewhere around here, maybe a bit lower once it ends. I'll also go on properties and customize my text a bit. Let's try with Helvetica now, and also make this all caps. And now I think we're looking good. I want to space it a bit more, so I'll look for the spacing right here and space this a bit more. And now this is the animation that we have. As you can see, we have the scroll, the question mark, and our gift with the present coming up from there, which is absolutely perfect. So now we only need to make a couple of modifications to make sure that this project is completed. The first one is going to be adding the text on top, and the second one is going to be finalizing the animations and making them smooth. Now, I'll go ahead and type here, but before doing that, I want to remove the all caps and remove the spacing, and then I'll type yesterday is history, and then I will zoom in and actually make this bigger. I will center the anchor point, and now what I want to do is I want to make sure that it's at the same height. I will reduce its size to something like 30, add a comma, and then I'll go on the align function and click on align to make sure that it's centered horizontally. You can also put it in the center of the screen, but it's going to go over our animations, which I don't like, so I'll just keep it there. So after yesterday's history, I'll cut it exactly here with Ctrl-Shift-D. I will type tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. Add another comma, and then I'll check when does that end, which is exactly here. I'll actually check frame by frame here. So I'll cut it, remove this one so that I can actually see what I'm doing, and type. That's why it's called present, full stop. So now if I look at what I have is yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why it's called present. So as you can see now, we have finally our video almost finished. We just need to ease the keyframes, but as you can see, it's looking pretty good at the moment. So what I'll do now is I will go on the scroll and I will make sure that the keyframes are eased. So I'll go and click U so that I can see all of the keyframes, and as you can see here, we have our saber keyframes. I'll highlight them both and click on F9, which is also the equivalent of right-clicking on them and clicking on Keyframe Assistant and clicking Easy Ease. This allows us to have smoother keyframe animation, as you can see, which goes slow at the start, fast in the middle, and slow at the end once again. I will do the same with my feather. I will click U to see the keyframes, go on the position and opacity keyframes and click on F9, and as you can see now, the movement is going to be way smoother. I'll do the same on the question mark once again, U, highlight, F9, and now as you can see, it's smoother. I'll go on the top present, I will go on all of the keyframes that I have and click F9, and I'll do the same with the bottom present by clicking F9 once again and easing them, and I'll do the same on the null by clicking F9, and I'll also do the same on the present. This is super important because it's going to make everything smoother. I'll go ahead and let you listen to this with the audio.
Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present.
So I want to congratulate with you because you have just recreated a viral video which has gotten over 230k views at the time of recording. And I know that this style is not easy to make and it can be a bit overwhelming, but that's because it's the highest quality work you can do as a video editor or as a theme page. This is motion graphic design. This is supposed to be one of the most advanced topics of all time. And in fact, the owner of that page, which we have just recreated the video for, which has over 1 million followers, sells a course on how to animate like him for over $150. And we have just recreated a super viral video in something like 30 minutes. And the best part is that this is just the first project that we're going to make, and we're going to go over more complex and even better projects in the next 2 lessons that are going to make you improve massively in motion graphic design. So I truly think you should stick around, and I can't wait to see your beautiful work in the class projects as well. So I'll see you in the next lesson where we're going to go over the second animation, the failure one.